it's Julia and welcome back to my channel. This week I worked on a collage quilt. Now I am new to collage quilting and I wanted to do an easy project. And I want to also let you know that I have this pattern available in my Etsy store and I'll link that down below. You will receive the template for the quilt, some easy instructions, and also a link back to this video. I will be going over step by step on how I created this. The inspiration for this was, I'm from Minnesota and traveling to the Southwest to Arizona this winter with my husband just to spend a few months in warmer weather. We go through a little bit of Oklahoma and Texas, and you see the Longhorns, and I thought this would be a fun project to do. And like I said, it's very easy if you're new to collage quilting. I hope you enjoy this. Again, the link will be down below for the pattern in my Etsy store. Let's get started. Here's the background and the borders. I've already joined them using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now this backing and the border, I will link the fabric down below. I purchased it about 4 months ago, so I'm not sure if it's still available, but this is what the background looks like. It's really funky. And I cut approximately 12 inches by 17 inches, and the borders I cut at 3 inches. The finished quilt measures 17 inches by 22 inches. And all of these will be in the little packet with the download. And you do have to join the template. I just put a couple pieces of tape on that. And I'm going to be using parchment paper for the base of this. You need enough parchment paper to cover the design. And then you can trace the design on parchment. I had a hard time finding a pen that worked well for this. But you don't necessarily need to trace it because you can see it really well, the template really well through the parchment paper. So you can just put a couple pins in it and use that. I'm using the Steam-A-Seam 2, but you can also use like a Heat and Bond Light or a Wonder Under, whatever you prefer. I do have some scraps of fabric picked out. I have 3 different groups, a light, a medium, and a dark. The light is going down the center. I'm going to put the medium on the sides, and I'm going to use the darker for the horns. I have like 4 pieces of each for each of the groupings, 4 different prints. And I'm also going to be using this floral just for some elements at the end. Now this is the Steam-A-Seam 2. You can get them in sheets like this, and you pull away that top sheet, and then it's tacky. So to prep your fabrics, you can just tack them or just press them kind of with your fingers right onto this so that all the backing of every fabric is covered with this Steam-A-Seam 2. Just getting all the pieces on it. And now I've got this whole piece covered, and then you take your iron and you press it. I pressed it on the front and on the back, and then I just cut those out. So all these pieces now have the Steam-A-Seam 2 on the back side of them. And this is the fun part. I'm just going to build my collage. I'm going to start with the center, or the lighter colors. And like I said, I have, I think, 4 different shades or different prints cut out. And I'm just cutting little pieces. My pieces are kind of oblong, round. Some of them are a little bit more round. It doesn't matter, whatever you like, or whatever look you want. And I'm scoring the back of that with a little pin, just use your nail or whatever. You want to remove that backing, that paper backing. Now, what's fun about Steam-A-Seam 2 is it's tacky. It's not going to stick to the parchment paper, but it's going to stick to the fabrics. You're going to overlap your fabrics at least 1/8 of an inch, and they're going to all tack together. That they tack onto the fabric. Hope that makes sense. If you find that it's moving too much, you can take your iron and press it onto this parchment, and then it's going to stick onto the parchment. But now I'm heading to my medium brown colors for the the outside. What's wonderful about the steam seam too is it is tacky, so you can place it down, but then you can also pick it up if you don't like where you put it. Just really easy to work with. I use Heat and Bond Light a lot for my applique work, but when I'm doing this collage work like this, I really do like the steam seam too. Another thing too, it has a feel of the fabric once you steam it on, and I'm going to share with you how you apply it to your actual background. And you use a lot of steam for that. It activates the glue, and it really makes it feel like it's not so just ironed on or so plasticky feeling. Like sometimes some of the Heat and Bond lights get that way. I'm going to continue with this. I'm going to add the medium to the dark to the outside of the Longhorn, and then I'm going to place those darker colors on the horn. This looks like it's tedious, but it really went very, very fast. Like I said, it just reminds me of collaging, like paper collaging. It's just really fun to put the pieces together. It's like a puzzle. I was debating whether I wanted to go light on the crown or dark on the crown, and I decided on the light. Most of this gets covered up. Most of that crown gets covered up with a floral design, and you'll see more pictures of that as I work. And one last piece of the horn to add in there. And again, all my pieces are overlapped 1/8 of an inch or to 1/4 of an inch. The next thing I want to do is to just take this and press it, and this is going to activate the glue onto this parchment paper. I'm just remove that template. I'm not using steam at this point. I am just ironing this on just to activate that glue, and this is going to turn that whole piece into one big applique. And you can see I'm gently pulling it up off of this parchment paper, and that glue remains on the back side. Now I'm taking it over to my background. Once I laid it on there, I was wondering, does it show up enough? So I thought maybe I'll put this floral just around this, but then I didn't like that. And I just decided on this funky little floral on the top of the head. And then I'm going to add some of these little elements, these floral elements to the corners. Now at this point, I haven't done any pressing. This little Longhorn is not pressed down, so I can still move it if I want. And the same with all these florals. I'm taking that paper back off of it, and it's tacky on the back, so I can reposition it if I want or just change my mind, which I do a lot here as I'm really fiddling around trying to decide where I want these little florals to go. And I do have them extending into the border. I just thought that looked kind of neat. And now it's time to do the steam. And I'm going to just take my time. I'm going to add quite a bit of steam to this, and then it's just going to really set it right into the fabric. It's just really an easy product to use. I have my sandwich made now, and I'm going to start to do the quilting. I've got of course, my outer, and then I have a warm and natural batting, which is a cotton batting, and then my backing is just a light print. And I do have some pins in there just to hold it all into place while I'm at my sewing machine. I picked out lots of different colors of thread. I am going to be changing thread quite a bit on this. Just kind of matching my colors. I've got a huge assortment of different kinds of threads. I'm not picky with that. I basically just somewhat want them to match and look decent. Now I have my quilter's foot on, my free motion foot on, and I do have my feed dogs dropped. When I start this, I do pull that bottom thread up and then stitch over the top and then trim it. I do not want that bobbin thread to leave a mess at the underneath, and so I do pull, and when I start or when I change thread colors, I do start by pulling that thread up, that bobbin thread up. And then you can see me do my work. I'm doing a very close free motion stitch, almost like a meander or a pebble stitch. When you do this kind of collage, you do want to get a lot of stitches in there because there's so many little pieces. I'm covering the edges, and then when I get done with one color, I'm going to change it now to the next one. Again, pulling that bobbin thread up and out, doing a couple stitches over the top just to lock that into place. And then I'm off, and I'll be trimming that right now. I like to trim it as I go, so I don't continue to go over the top of it and then leave a big mess again. And then you can really see the little, I don't know what you call it, little zigzaggy things that I do, little circles. This goes so much faster than you think. I also wanted to share with you, after all that was done and I changed all my threads, I went with a cream colored thread for the background and just did a large meander stitch. You can see that there. I just did like another meander stitch on that, but just really made it large. And then on the border, I just followed that print and just did straight stitch. You'll be able to see it really good when I flip it over. You can see that tiny, tiny little pebble stitch in the actual Longhorn itself, and then the meander stitch that I did. Cleaning up those edges. Just squaring everything off, and I always cut my batting and my backing a little bit bigger when I start working, and then just trim them down. I'm going to link down below for you my video on my easy binding method. I did not cover the entire binding method on this video. It just gets to be too long, but I'll link that down below for you. I did put little corners in this just so you can hang it easy with a dowel. Those are 6-inch squares that I folded, and then I stitched that into place before I stitched my binding on. Just an easy way to hang a little wall hanging. And then my binding is I cut at 2.5 inches wide and then folded it. I did have to miter the corners. This is all covered in my binding video, and you can see it, the miter there that I open up and then fold. To get the measurement for my binding, I do measure all the way around my quilt and then add 10 inches. And that again is all covers in my binding tutorial that I've already done. Here's some pictures. I hope you enjoyed this. It went together so fast. My husband loves it. He wants it hanging on our wall. So that's always nice to hear. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. I hope you give it a try. Bye for now.